Today, you crowned me king. Well, I demand a kingdom. From today, we cease to do Rome's bidding. From today, we go to war with Rome.
Alaric's sack of Rome could be likened to the end of the world for the Roman psyche. The fact that Rome, the eternal city, the greatest city in the history of planet Earth to this point, has been sacked at will by the barbarians is a shock from which Roman civilization will never recover.
The sack of Rome in 410 must have been a clarion call to all people that Rome was vulnerable. But it was also a clarion call to barbarians that this could be done.
We know very little about Alaric's rise to power. Somehow he proved himself as a military commander of exceptional talents.
He is a barbarian, but raised in the Roman context, to think like a Roman, to fight like a Roman, and ultimately even leading parts of the Roman army.
The Romans have given him the most intimate education in how the armies work, in how the empire works, and therefore how to destroy it.
Alaric has been betrayed and disappointed time and time and time again. He wanted his homeland. The Romans constantly took it away from him.
Remember that the Goths were inside of Roman territory. They were operating theoretically on Rome's behalf, but Rome hadn't given them territory to settle on and produce their own agricultural goods and so forth. So Alaric needed to become a commander and take his troops into battle in order to continue to get money and supplies from the Romans.
What he really wanted to do was find some measure of independence, some place where he could actually keep his people to himself without having to serve under the eagle.
And this is what Alaric effectively does by being elected king.
Kings had always existed outside the Roman Empire. By making himself a king instead of a general, Alaric was effectively saying that he was not going to be a subject of the Roman Empire anymore.
Alaric is so livid about the betrayals that he's undergone that he lays siege to Rome, and it's a siege that lasts for 18 months.
By surrounding Rome, by attacking Rome, he holds the empire to ransom.
The siege has been going on for too long. It appears that he's never going to take the city.
In order to end the siege, Alaric proposes that he will walk away from the city. He enters into unilateral negotiations with Rome, and he makes them a peace offering of slaves.
What Alaric has given them is effectively a Trojan horse. These slaves are not any old slaves. They're actually 300 of his finest warriors. The slaves have completely infiltrated the city. They go on the rampage, they kill, they slaughter, and they open the gates to the waiting Goths who are outside.
On some level, Alaric had gotten exactly what he wanted. He had wanted to besiege Rome, he had wanted to take Rome. But what did he really want? He really wanted a place for his people to settle. He wanted them to have a place to stay.
So the long-term outcome of the sack of Rome is the acceptance by the empire of the Goths as permanent interlopers within its borders.
Alaric didn't enjoy his success for very long. He died very shortly after the siege of Rome. His people were briefly at a loss. Eventually, though, his successor saw his followers to a permanent settlement in what's now the south of France. After almost 40 years, and with very few of the same people obviously alive, the Goths found a permanent settlement and found a place where a permanent Gothic kingdom could arise.
Strategists, tacticians, ever since, have striven to copy what the barbarians achieved because it represents tactical perfection.
We know this land. This terrain is in our blood.